Slouch more. Wait, hey, you said we should start laughing, and so I did by accident because I was thinking I look like a giant compared to Priya. Sorry, Priya.
No biggie.
But you're a very lovely girl, so it's completely okay. Hey.
Sometimes it's good to feel kind of, small.
Hey, I'm here with Priya
Hey.
Patel, and we're going to be talking today to you about vision and purpose. And this is all part of the Tap Into Your Genius series. And what this is about is that I'm launching September 1st is, I guess, the deadline for those who would like to become a founding member. But what it is a beta site and course showing you step by step how to tap into the genius part of your brain. Because I believe that everyone, not just Einstein, not just Tesla, that they have within their brains the way God designed it, this amazing potential, this amazing, ability. They can just tap into the same techniques that geniuses use. They can do amazing things too. And so,
Powerful.
yeah. And so what I have found is that most geniuses, that are maybe all, that they find a passion and a purpose for their life. And they tap into that. That's what drives them. That's what pushes them past all the obstacles that people will invariably run into.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to introduce to you all Priya Patel.
Hello, audience.
And she is the founder of the Intention Table.
Correct.
Which can be found where?
You can find it online, theintentiontable.com.
Yeah.
And please check it out.
Okay. And so I'm going to paraphrase what it's about, and
Sure.
then you can jump in and tell the audience. But
Sure.
so I found it a unique concept. It's called the Intention Table. And I also do unique cinema events where tasting is part of the event. And so it got my attention. And so what she's doing is creating a way in which we can intentionally eat and eat together in a group experience, but as a way to get greater awareness about food and about eating. It's also she also caters to those who have gone through trauma.
Absolutely.
As a way through eating to connect with your senses. That if we become, I'm paraphrasing, if we become more, it's maybe how it's an effect, or how I'm interpreting it, but in a good way, I believe, is that I think that those who've gone through trauma very often disconnect from their senses as a way of coping.
It's one of the things that can happen.
It can happen. Okay, but what it is it helps you to connect with your body, to connect with your senses, and I think that it can be a very powerful experience because I think very often Americans will eat very quick,
Yes.
and they're not really experiencing their foods nor the senses, and also just I love the health aspect. If we can slow down and experience the foods and may experience the people that we're with,
Yes.
that through that intention, great things can happen. How about that?
That was a really good synopsis of the Intention Table as far as the eating meditation part goes.
So tell us.
High five.
Thanks. Thank you for that, the high five thing. Okay, so can you tell us, Priya, when did you get the vision for the Intention Table? How did that happen?
Well, it's been a journey. Believe it or not, the vision for the Intention Table, as far as it all coming together, only came together within the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I'd kind of known since I was like 14 or so that I wanted to dive into the wellness space, but I had no idea or clue how. And believe it or not, it was over the past few years of unraveling my own journey and connecting to myself that I really realized that my purpose is to help others connect with themselves through the tools that I've learned of helping myself. So I'm not unfamiliar with the sensory system. I worked as a special ed teacher for many years, and it was kind of through that career path, which has actually, believe it or not, led me to this whole new space, completely unrelated. But I had to have gone through that career to have understood the sensory system the way that I do.
And what was your previous career that kind of helped to
So I
be
taught.
part of your new organization and company?
I worked with children with special needs for over 14 years, and that too, believe it or not, was known. Um, I had a vision and a purpose for working with kids with special needs, which began for me as young as 9.
Yeah, you had sent me a note on that. I thought that was really intriguing.
Yeah.
At the age of 9?
I met my first kiddo who had special needs, autism to be exact, at the age of 9. My 4th grade teacher had announced that they were looking for volunteers for the special ed classroom for recess. And there was myself and 2 other people who had volunteered to go. Well, I was chosen, but not only did I end up finding myself there at recess, I found myself before school, after school, recess, and lunch, and this was at the age of 9.
Yeah.
I specifically connected with a little boy named Yuri,
Yeah.
and they said that even though I was 9, I may perhaps have reminded him of his mom, who had dark hair and tan skin. He immediately came and embraced me and sat on me, and he was completely nonverbal, and what that means, no speech whatsoever. But with this child, even at the age of 9, I realized that I had a gift to communicate with children who are nonverbal, and he didn't have to speak to tell me anything. I just understood, and I just knew. And it was just looking at his body language, and almost, this might sound bizarre, but even at the age of 9, becoming one with this child took to be able to listen and to be able to understand. And I found myself year after year after year after year from there on out volunteering with kids with special needs, 10 years old, 11 years old, somehow, some way, same shape, some form. And then when it came time for college, it was no question. My first job at the age of 18 was working with kids with special needs. And I continued to move down that path of working with kids with special needs, which eventually led me to teaching special education, not only teaching special education, but co-founding a school out here in Dallas.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. This
Sure.
all led to
where I am right now.
the founding of the school, right? And so, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
What you envisioned there, and what came about, and what was about?
Yeah, so I taught in a beautiful private school when I moved out to Dallas called Chase's Place. Really lovely school for kids with severe to moderate disabilities.
Yeah.
And I taught for them for about 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And then the point came to make a decision to either stay with that organization or to branch out on my own. And I took a leap. Just kind of listening.
What was that?
The leap that I had always known inside, because even at 9, I had said one day I would like to be part of founding a school for kids with special needs.
How did you know that?
I just knew. When I had my first interaction with Yuri.
It was just that connection.
It was just a
wasn't
connection.
a vision or a dream, or
no, it was an inner knowing.
That heart connection.
A heart connection.
With the boy.
Literally, where I said to myself, and I have very few childhood memories, but this one specifically is as clear as day. Even his face is as clear as day. At 9, saying, I will have and I will open a school for kids with special needs. I just
at the age of 9.
At the age of 9.
That's so cool.
I just knew, and I just continued to walk down that path.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about is a vision and a purpose and a passion for your life, and developing that. And I think that very often we're given gifts as children. certain abilities, certain feel an attenuation towards certain things.
Absolutely.
And I think that sometimes that we say no to it, or our family tells us to say no to it. You might grow up in a certain family that says you need to be a doctor.
You are 100% correct. Oh my God, you're gonna laugh.
Oh no, Indian families, I know.
You're gonna laugh. So I remember specifically trying to explain to my grandfather what it was that I was doing, and he basically, in so many words, were like, "So you babysit for a living?" And there's nothing wrong with babysitting. There's nothing wrong with babysitting, but initially I just kind of surrendered to that too, and just said, okay, to him it might be babysitting, but to me it's literally changing a life, giving a child who is nonverbal the ability to communicate is absolutely powerful and beautiful.
How much of that communication with Yuri was love?
100%. 100%.
So even a kid with autism can understand love.
Yes, some of the most profound and simplest and beautiful love that I have ever received has been from children who are nonverbal, and my also giving has been reciprocated in such a beautiful way. And it's amazing to watch, because a lot of people will say that kids with autism don't connect. And yes, that's true. At the same time, they do connect. And it's powerful when they do. And they connect in a different way.
So you were helping these children, but how have they helped you?
It's funny that you say that. What I realized only recently is that everything that I was teaching these children, essentially, they were a mirror reflecting back to me what I needed to teach myself. So very powerful. They were my teachers the entire time. Things like I was giving children a voice and realized that I had kind of neglected giving myself a voice for years upon years upon years. And in some way, perhaps subconsciously, without even realizing it, I was helping myself, maybe by helping them. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's one way that I've kind of wrapped my head around my life, I guess you can say. Another thing is I was teaching these kids how to regulate their body and their sensory system. So the school that I helped co-create.
So this has been a long time theme with you.
Absolutely.
Understanding the
sensory system, the school that I helped create was with a woman named Angela, who is the director and co-founder of It's a Sensory World. So there we go, tapping into the sensory, that word coming back to me. And together, her and I created a school program that really embraced understanding the sensory system and helping these children regulate their sensory system in order to learn. And learning communication became more available once the sensory system was regulated. And that's a pretty powerful thing, because most people think of the sensory system as the 5 senses. However, it goes a lot deeper than just the 5. There are many senses that are hidden, and we at that.
Let me ask you. So there's 5 senses, and we normally we just kind of accept them, and we receive the data from our brain, and however it's coming in, whether touch or eyes or whatever it might be. But you're saying there's something that regulates all of those senses?
Well, our senses are regulated by the brain, right? The central nervous system and also the somatic nervous system are areas that do regulate our senses. But what I'm saying is that in addition to the 5, there are so many more. And as a program, we kind of tapped into the hidden senses, which mainly being your ability to balance, your vestibular system, your proprioceptive sense, which is your ability to know where you are in time and space, and the interoceptive system, which is your ability to sense sensation within the body. So things like, your ability to understand, are you hungry, are you thirsty, are you sad, can all be tied to your interoceptive system. And what you said was interesting just now to me, that we take in information. Well, I am actually proposing that actually as adults, we're not tapping into our sensory system the way that we should be. As children, kids are bombarded. As babies, as toddlers, infants, children, they're bombarded with stimuli to engage the sensory system. Why? And that's because that's how they learn to navigate the world around them.
Right.
Now, as we grow older, a lot of that information becomes natural because we've already learned, how to take in that information.
Right.
But what we forget, though, is to continue to engage our sensory system and to create new experiences with our sensory system. And I mean using our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our emotional body to help us learn the world around us. And this is necessary because sometimes what happens is subconsciously we've created patterns, habits, automatic responses that are subconscious, kind of taking us away from a conscious life.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
I talked to you briefly the other day about the reticular activating system.
Yes.
And I'm not an expert on that, but
I hadn't really heard of that exact phrase myself.
Yeah, but what it is I was just listening to a video on YouTube with Tony Robbins talking, and he mentions that the way that there's certain, like we block out certain data, and our brain shows us what's most important. When we're traveling down the road or we're walking down the street, whatever it is. But what I find it intriguing, maybe because of the way the brain's designed, because we live a certain amount of period of time, we ignore certain things, because I've learned that already. But what if we open up our hearts and our minds to our senses, such as with food, or with a relationship, talking to someone, slowing down and just looking in their eyes and just seeing the body language and interacting with the person, or if we go out in nature and become more aware of our senses, what can happen to a person?
Absolutely. And so what you just said does tie into what I'm proposing, is that we are not tapping into that part of our brain or our bodies, really, that gives us all the information that we really need. We're not navigating the world the way that we did as children.
As kids.
Yes.
And I think there's a power in how kids interact with the world. And I was talking to Angel Rebo about this yesterday, a friend of mine and also one of the experts in the course and everything. But is a hearkening back to our childhood and that curiosity that I think that geniuses, quote geniuses, okay, they still have it. They're still fascinated with the world. They're still fascinated with creating an invention or something, that a creative thought, an idea, and they're not. And then the world will say, you can't do that, or it's not possible. But these people, I think, have locked in on that, and I think they're fed. They have an energy that comes from that. Well, I created that, and people loved it. And what's the next thing I'm going to create? What's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to start the intention table.
Well, one of the things you have to do is be able to block out the noise.
Yeah.
Right? Because you said, there's going to be a lot of people saying, no, you can't do that. And then to be able to shut down or shut that out and kind of stay steadfast or rooted, it takes an inner knowing, to me, to be able to say, yes, I can, and to go ahead and do it. But just kind of cycling back. So the whole like sensory system, me learning that, well, at the age of 34, I became like super disconnected from myself and my body.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I believe that I've been able to move out so quickly and to connect back to myself was because of my knowledge of the sensory system.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these steps that I had taken were preparing me to literally help myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so following that path was absolutely necessary. Having that vision at 9 years old, having that purpose of helping these kids literally was a saving grace for myself. And I know now I'm meant to use the tools that I learned to help myself to help others help themselves.
In general terms, whatever you feel comfortable with, what were you going through, at that time period that you needed to make this change in your life?
It was honestly just unraveling things that I had suppressed for years on end.
Yeah.
Things from childhood, things while I was married, things as a teenager, just suppressed. And I had kind of been, in my eyes, putting on a mask, and I felt very inauthentic, and realized that I think the word was almost, I would say, hiding. And one day waking up, realized I don't want to hide anymore, and I can't hide anymore. And
what was the catalyst? What made you come to that moment where you said, I cannot hide anymore?
I was exhausted of being a certain way when inside it didn't match. It's like putting on this face for the outside world, and that's why I say a mask. And like unmasking has been very freeing and liberating. And unmasking is allowing me to follow the vision of my life.
Yeah.
And surrendering to something bigger than myself. Unmasking is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard journey. It is not easy, but it is also very powerful.
What is it, that thing that's bigger than yourself?
To me, I call this thing bigger than myself God. And God for me is simply God. I don't have a name other than that. And it is this concept of God has perfectly designed my life. Every piece, every particle, every person, every interaction.
Sounds freeing right there.
Yes, every mistake, everything.
Yeah.
Everything perfectly designed. And that in itself, I think a lot of people can have a hard time wrapping their head around, because some of the things have not been what most people would call pleasant. And I'm not saying that they were pleasant. I'm just saying that everything was exactly the way that it needed to be. For me to evolve, for me to grow, learn, to live out my life with a purpose bigger than myself.
I wanted to say, I think that when, this is related to today's whole thing about vision and purpose, I think that when we can connect to God, to a higher purpose, then that's where like amazing ideas come from. That's where drive and passion come from.
Absolutely. Oh my God. So true. Like I was telling you a little bit earlier, I had a pretty big panic attack last night. I'm starting a new business. Everything is different, and just had a mini meltdown, being very honest. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right verbiage? Am I on the right path? And I woke up around 11:30 last night with a complete sweat and a complete heart racing.
I understand.
Ever been there? Anybody ever been there? Literally just palpitations, my mind racing, and I'm pretty quiet in my mind for the most part, but when I have these anxiety attacks or panic attacks,
Yeah.
it just overwhelms and take over. And I've developed some tools, meditation being one of them, that really keep me grounded and bring me back to the present moment. And so I was like, well, I have two choices at this moment in time. Go down this rabbit hole of having this anxiety attack, or feel everything in its entirety, then find stillness, and then see what happens. And so I thought of, even in the midst of my chaos, I found peace by using this word and saying it over and over again, fear. And it's something that I learned at a networking group. Fear, feel everything and rise. Feel everything and rise. Feel everything. And I said it probably for 15 minutes. And I said it until I believed it. And then I closed my eyes. I had a quick meditation. And I said, and I used these words because it's true for me. I said, God, let me hear what I need to hear. Give me the words that I need to make my message and my vision and my purpose come across. And literally, I sat in silence. And as I was sitting in silence, like a computer downloading, not even kidding, the words in my head came as if they'd already been written, as if it already happened. And I woke up, I came out of my meditation and I immediately started writing it down. And I felt calm, but I had to feel the fear, because had I ignored it...
I want to ask you about that. So rather than running from your feelings, what you're saying is you allowed yourself to feel them.
Yeah, for the first time in my life.
That night?
No, but this is still a new process for me.
Yeah.
But I am learning that even fear, face it, and see what it's telling you, and see what the underlying root is, but feel it. Don't let it store in your body. Don't let it store in my heart. Don't let it store in my mind. See what it's telling me, and then see if I can listen. But yes, don't run from your emotions.
And I have a story that I want to add to that. But what were the words that began to come into your mind after you made that statement?
So what I realized, like with the intention table, what I'm doing is, yes, I'm giving people a opportunity to connect with themselves, but it's so much more than that. It's an opportunity to connect with other people through conversation, opportunity for people to talk about things that matter. It's opportunity for people to have an experience of stillness. And none of that was represented on my website. None of that was represented on...
And that was part of your concern.
Yeah, like I'm not really showcasing what this is really doing.
Right. And what it's meant to you, maybe.
Yeah, and
personally,
what really came to me was that defining the word table, my friend who helped me come up with the name The Intention Table, he was basically, I said, table, what about a table? And one of the definitions he had given me was a table is a place that people come together to gather. And I was like, absolutely, that is what the intention table is, and that needs to be front and center on my website. How powerful. A place where people are coming together. That's exactly what happens. They're coming together to connect with themselves, with each other, have meaningful conversations, have a meaningful experience with themselves, to be away from social media, the telephone for hours on an end and not even realize that the time has gone by, and to be present. And literally all of that came to me last night as I was finding myself in a meditation at 1:30 in the morning.
Well, I think that your logo says a lot. And I was intrigued by that. I had never really seen someone put that much thought into a logo or have that many meanings to it.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I think is really intriguing about what you're doing with the intention table is that people all over the world, the thing they associate most with family, with connection, is eating together at a table. So I think that's great. And to pick on America again, is that we get so busy with our lives. The kids are doing social media instead of talking to their parents or watching something, or the parents are doing social media
or working.
And that time of connection is so important. And so I think that your concept is tapping into that very thing.
Yes.
But is also being intentional about we're experiencing this together, not just conversation, but the food together. So if we can slow down on that, I bet you could help tons of kids and Americans to stop being obese, by creating more intention.
So, one of the things that I'm not telling people what to eat. I'm really showing them how to eat. I am showing that even if it was let's say, give me an example of something that most people would consider bad, French fries or pizza, right? If we are being aware of what is going into our body, not just with our mind, but with our eyes and our ears and our nose and our mouth and our heart and our cellular body, then because of this process, the hastiness and the rushing and the impulsivity and the hurriedness will kind of dissipate on its own.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
What's a big deal? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 French fries when it's done with this beautiful. You're
kind of triggering this to me, the thought that if we are more intentional in all that we do,
absolutely,
that we're going to slow down and we're going to be in the present moment. I'm going to enjoy talking to Priya right now. I'm not going to be rushing. What's next? No. And whatever the experience is, I'm going to enjoy talking to my friends here tonight. I'm going to enjoy meeting people at the office, or whatever I'm doing. It seems like if we use intention, it's going to slow us down and also maybe enjoy our present moment more.
It is also slowing us down, but I feel like the more we focus in on our attention, because things become so defined and so clear, even though we're slowing down, very profound, even though we're slowing down, because we are on this trajectory, we are in fact speeding up. Does that make sense?
No, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think that when we do have a purpose and a vision to what we're doing, and it's very clear. Then we begin to go on a trajectory like that in our lives. And when we are not clear, then this is what we do. Perhaps for years.
I'll give you an example about myself, like throwing myself under the bus here. So chips.
You're just being open.
And
that's good. I think people will appreciate that.
So chips. If and when I found things in my life to be kind of chaotic or out of control, whether in my mind, in my heart, in my body, I would impulsively run to chips, Cheetos, hey, Cheetos, or potato chips, or and I've only realized recently that was kind of my way of trying to gain control. It sounds...
Control of what?
Control of whatever I was creating chaos. It's like it felt good in that moment to do something, to do anything. And kind of binging on these chips, like putting handfuls at a time into my mouth, is what felt right. So if my life was chaotic, I ate chaotically. And over the time, I've realized now to look at food as a roadmap of what's going on in my life, to examine myself a little bit deeper and a little bit further. And in fact, now, if I am feeling this impulsivity towards chips, examining emotional hunger, examining mind hunger, examining, for me it's those two things when it comes to chits, but I now know myself enough to know that that's the case.
Through awareness.
Through awareness.
Yeah.
So to slow down and to examine what in my life is feeling
just like you did
chaotic.
last night. You embraced your feelings.
Yes.
You became aware of them.
Yeah, awareness, absolutely.
Well, Priya, we're going to let you get going for your next intention table event.
Thank you.
Happening very soon.
Yes.
And so I want to thank you for coming today.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure.
How about we continue again real soon?
I'd love to be back.
All right, we'll do that very soon, everybody. I also just want to remind you that I'm also launching the beta site for Tap Into Your Genius, which will show you step-by-step how to tap into your genius. And very quickly, there's 5 modules. And the first is mindset, how to change your mindset and begin to think in amazing ways. And then the second is vision and purpose.
Yes.
And the third is tapping into your creativity. I think the most powerful module of all is how we can use creativity and tap into that part of our brain so then we can create those amazing businesses and inventions and all those types of different things and a new life that we want. The fourth is brain science, how we can maximize the capacity of our brains, whether through meditation or through eating, what we're drinking. It could be going out and having more fun.
Nice.
Intentionally, and maybe get out in nature more, getting in touch with that. A lot of different techniques, and so we'll have different experts from around the world participating, which you'll be able to enjoy hearing them in webinars and courses, classes, and challenges that will be throughout the entire thing. And so I'm looking for 50 founding members this week, and there'll be some wonderful benefits that will be only for this week and only one time offered. But I would love to have you on there because I'm going to also be looking for your feedback. How can I improve it? How can I make it even better? I think it's going to be an exciting adventure. And like I said, I'll have different experts from around the world and human potential and brain science on there. So if you could just tap the link on your screen, become a member, I would love that. And the deadline is going to be September 1st to become a founding member. So I hope that you become one of our first and only 50 founding members.
It's fabulous.
So anyway, Priya, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so bless everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay? Thank you.
Bye.
All right.